The national championship goes to Connecticut for the 4th year in a row. 11th title in program history. The dynasty fulfills its destiny.
I've always tried to instill in my players that tremendous desire for something.
Our next guest, all he does is win, 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 no matter what. He collects jewelry, too. 11 rings. We welcome friend of the show, Gino Auriemma, to the desk. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Great seeing you, Coach.
Great to be here, guys.
Gino, I need you to help me here. So
Sure.
Stephen A. is depressed. He loves the NBA more than anything, and all we hear, he keeps complaining since KD joined the Warriors that they've ruined basketball.
For the regular season.
Now, you can relate to this because all you do is dominate as well, and you've heard these complaints.
Right.
What would you like to say to him in response that the Warriors have ruined the NBA season until the playoffs?
Well, I mean, the regular season is tough because there's 82 games. So it's already, teams are playing, just get in the playoffs. They start resting players. So where you finish in the regular season, I like the idea of super teams because it's every night that they play, even when they play the worst team in the league, it's a big game, a big story, because it's a star-driven league. Mm-hmm. And creating super teams, I think, is the next evolution of what you're going to see in sports, because players want to win. After a certain point, you got enough money, they want to win. And they don't want to be that one player on that one team, and then they go down in history as you can't get it done by yourself.
Well, one of the things, Coach, that, and it's not your fault, you might have missed this, it's because of her and him, and together what they do.
Finger pointer. It doesn't work in team sports.
In terms of trying to
You have it
misconstrue
so
my point. Coach, I'm not talking about you going out and recruiting somebody and fielding a super team. I'm not talking about, somebody being drafted and, I'm talking about a dude that was up 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals.
Right.
Loses that series.
Right.
To a team that was 73-9, all-time regular season record, defending champions at the time, and a month later, he goes to the team that beat you. Now, how do you feel about that? See how that element's a little bit different than what she explained?
Yeah, I understand that, and I'm okay with it. I think what he did was he said, look, I want to play with the best players, and I want to experience what it feels like to have that for 82 games plus the playoffs and a chance at immortality.
Coach, speaking of dominance, the polls come out today. Notre Dame 1, Baylor 2, UConn women 3.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Perfect.
Because finally you're the underdog.
I was hoping we'd be 23. I remember coaching the U.S. national team at a tournament in Russia. Uh-huh. And we had 5 of our players. And we were playing against a team with 12 Olympians. And for the first time, and I don't know how long, we walked into the gym that night. And I said to one of the assistant coaches, Doug Bruno, I said, I got to tell you, I've never been more excited in my life. And he said, why? This is the first game in about 10 years where we're not expected to win. There's something exciting about that. Now, if all of a sudden that lasts 3 or 4 years, it loses a little bit of its excitement, don't get me wrong. But I think all of us need to be reset where people, you can't just keep grabbing the carrot.
How does that happen, though? You win 4 in a row by an average margin last year of 173 points. I just looked it up. You had the point differential is 173 a game. That's not exact. That's look it up, kids.
He tops you, Stephen. He exaggerates.
And how do you wind up 3rd after that run, particularly after last year?
Well, we graduated Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. So it's a little bit different. Yeah. Right. If you took those 3 from one team, we got that based on reputation. Number 3, because by any stretch of the imagination, you can't lose the 3 best players in college basketball and think that you're not going to miss a beat. It's the fact that we're that high. And we've got really good team. Don't get me wrong. We've got a really good team, and we've got some really good players, some great young players. But until somebody proves it, it's just speculation.
I'll go back. I ask you this question all the time. Anytime I see you on this show, I always ask you the same question. You thinking about coaching men's at any point in time, considering the level of dominance, that you have continuously displayed throughout your illustrious career at UConn? Have you thought about coaching the men's?
You know, you can think about something all you want, you know. That doesn't mean that it's ever going to happen. And you still have to have somebody out there that says, you know what, I think you'd be the perfect guy to do this. And, you know, there's been opportunities over the last 15 years. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't the right time in my life, my family's life. But I think at some point you have to say, am I happy doing what I'm doing? Because it's not always that great somewhere else. And I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Does that mean I'm always going to be happy doing what I'm doing? I don't know, but I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now.
What are the goals this season? You mentioned that you don't have the same squad. You graduated Durant and Steph and Clay. So what are the goals? What do you tell your team?
Well, it's like anything else. I can't say to anybody on my team, I can't say to Katie Lou Samuelson, I need you to be Stewie this year. And I can't say to Nafisa Kaya, you need to be Tuck, or Gabby Williams, you need to be, you know, Tuck. That's not fair. So I have to redefine for them a little bit, okay, what are we going to do here? What's realistic for us? Well, realistic for us is every day we get better. And if we do what I think we're capable of doing, we have a shot at being in the Final Four. You know, somebody told me years ago that you don't get judged on whether you win a national championship every year. I think you get judged on, are you in contention every year to win it? And we are. We're in contention to win it. So that means we're close. We're not as close as we were, but we're close.
How many rings are realistic for you?
1. That's about all I wear.
12, 15.
No. You're never guaranteed anything more than what you already have. So I already have more than anybody else. So for me to think, well, I know that there's X many left, that's not the way I operate. I don't think that way.
Let me go to NBA route for a second, because I know you know your basketball. I know you watch your basketball.
Absolutely.
How are you feeling about the product that's put on the floor? I'm liking what I'm seeing to some degree. I remember at times you've dissected the sport. You obviously you were fond of it, of course, but there were things that you said that could help make the game better. How are you feeling about the sport now and how it's growing?
I think it's done a 180, I think. There were so many complaints against the NBA back in the, you know, Bad Boys and when Pat Riley had the Knicks, and
that's right,
the games were 90 to 80, and they've completely flip-flopped. They're so much fun to watch, I think, the NBA. Their rules are way ahead of where college basketball is. College basketball is slowly trying to catch up, but you can't just go up to somebody in the NBA and just punch them without getting a foul call. So they lay off each other. So now you get to evaluate the skills that guy, and that guy has, because it's not a wrestling match. It's a basketball game. College basketball, men and women, has been slow to get to that point. And the more you get to that point where people can roam free, you can see their skills. The NFL has done it. You can't beat wide receivers up like you used to. So there's more scoring. The NBA is so much fun to watch right now because
it is.
Their talents are just otherworldly, because nobody's holding them when they're trying to do something that you would say, wow, that's unbelievable. And their schemes are way ahead of everybody else. The foreign influx has changed the game so much that right now, I think the NBA is the best basketball in the world by a large stretch. And I think college basketball men, college basketball women can learn a lot from what they do, and they are learning a lot. You watch men's college basketball, women's college basketball, and you'll see a lot of similarities with what the NBA coaches are doing.
Well, I will totally agree with you if Kevin Durant and Golden State don't ruin it by blowing everybody out by 30. It hasn't happened in the first week of the season. Let's hope that continues. It'll be interesting.
Well, that first game, they wanted to make you feel a little bit better. Opening night, they made you feel.
It did. I want competition. That's all I'm asking for, Coach. I want competition.
You and I can have a debate about whether basketball's gotten better or not another time. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 each. Like, you know, the points don't mean what they used to.
I got it.
But, you know,
get off my lawn.
You know, women's college basketball is at a stage where men's college basketball was maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, where it just needs more good players, more good programs. The players need to be spread out a little more, like you're saying. Yeah. But at the same time, there always needs to be those super teams that everybody in the country falls on both sides. Half love it, half hate it. Everybody watches.
Got it.
I miss the Big East. Gino,
Me too.
Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate you. Best of luck this
Thanks,
season.
guys.
Not that you
always
need it from
enjoy
us.
your company.
Coming up next, Cam Newton complains about late hits not called on Sunday, and another player rips the reigning MVP. Don't miss those comments when we come back. First Take, stay here.
Your insurance company won't replace the full value of your totaled new car, the guy said.
Quote, Ben gets hit more than anybody in the league, and he never complains. Come on, man. This is the game of football. If you're out there and you're scared to take a shot, then don't be out there, especially if you're a running quarterback. Defenses are going to take shots at you, just the way his style of playing football, how he celebrates. I guess he gives the guys a chip. Like, let's go hit the reigning NFL MVP. Also, our Ed Warder reports the officiating review of the Cardinals-Panthers game concludes one illegal hit on Newton was not penalized. Cardinals defensive end Calais Campbell should have been flagged for diving and hitting Newton low while the quarterback was in the pocket. Warder also reported Commissioner Roger Goodell has vowed the league will review the overall Newton situation and promises he will speak to Cam directly. Stephen A., is there anything Cam can do to make it better for himself right now?
Nothing. He can do nothing to make it better. If he speaks, he's going to get crucified. If he shuts up, he's going to get crucified. The reality of the situation is that he's in a no-win situation. It's entirely lose-lose no matter what. He has to accept that and move forward. Because the reality is that it's self-inflicted to some degree. Not entirely, but it's self-inflicted. Some of those hits, they should have been flagged. There's no question that Cam Newton is getting popped silly, no doubt about it. But Max Kellerman, I would say this to you. If you recall, Cam kind of invited it on himself. Last year, while the Carolina Panthers were in the throes of a 15-1 season, looking absolutely spectacular, en route to a Super Bowl appearance, there was a point where Cam Newton stood up at the podium and addressed folks that had a problem with him dabbing and taking pictures and being in such a celebratory mood while in the throes of competition. Cam Newton looked into the cameras and sat there and said, "Shut me up then. Do something about it. You invited grown men with mortgages to pay, families to feed, massive dudes who, by the way, don't view you at 6'5" and 260 pounds. They know that you're formidable, but they certainly don't view you as invincible, especially in the aftermath of what happened in the Super Bowl with Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, and the crew. You invited that. That does not give them a right to knock him upside his head. It certainly doesn't give the officials a pass in terms of missing those calls that are clear, that should clearly be flagged in favor of him against them. But the inescapable reality is that football, you have a license to assault dudes. You know this because you've played this game on an elite level, which is why you're the reigning league MVP. And while you were winning, you talked. And you boasted and you bragged, and now they are coming for you. There's no way out of this other than for him to deal with it and to find a way to win in spite of it. And in the process, stop allowing the Carolina Panthers to use your body as a ping pong machine where you're going out there and literally having power running plays run for, schematically set for you. That's not going to work. That's not going to custom mustard. But he doesn't win any way you slice it, Max. He shuts up. He's going to get vilified. He talks. He's going to get vilified.
Is there anything Cam can do to make it better for himself? The answer is yes. Not in an absolute sense, but in a relative sense. You know what a rising fastball is in baseball? It looks to the hitter like it's actually rising, but physics says that's impossible. It's got to be dropping. But there's a spin on the ball that is such it's not dropping as fast as you anticipate. A normal ball would drop. It's dropping at a slower rate, so it appears to be rising. That's what Cam can do. He can shut up. He can stop talking. And even if it gets worse, it won't get worse as fast as if he keeps talking. And I want to talk about Andrew Luck, Muhammad Ali, Derek Jeter, and Alex Rodriguez right now. See, Cam comes across like A-Rod. A-Rod, every time he opened his mouth, you felt like there was an ulterior motive. You felt that he wasn't comfortable. He wasn't just, there wasn't something forthright about it. There was a lack of authenticity when he spoke. That was A-Rod. Jeter, when he spoke, he didn't say anything. It was all cliche, but you got the sense that he meant it. That's Andrew Luck to me. Andrew Luck is Jeter. Andrew Luck seems to have, and I compare him to Luck because they came in around the same time. They were the two best in college at the same time, and I think that we're in their era, though that's unclear at this moment. Those are the two blue chip guys, the bluest of blue chip coming into the league. And Luck has internalized all those kind of cliched football lessons you can see from a young age because everything he says in good times deflects all the credit. In bad times, takes all the blame. And you can see he believes it. He's drank the Kool-Aid. And Cam is the opposite. Cam in good times takes a lot of credit, rubs people the wrong way. And in bad times, deflects some blame. Oh, it's the refs, they're letting them hit me, whatever. Now, I agree with the content of what he says, the content. But the way he presents it just rubs people the wrong way. Saying something like, I don't feel safe, you're not a college sophomore talking about a safe space. You're on the gridiron. It's the opposite of a safe space. Well, what about for quarterbacks? Yes, I agree. They hit him out of proportion. Although they also hit Roethlisberger and some other big, strong guys out of proportion. And in addition to that, he's out of the pocket a lot. And as you mentioned, it's like power running plays designed for him. So it's going to add up. So what I would say, there are those who would say, what about Muhammad Ali? Muhammad Ali took all the credit in good times, one-on-one sport, I know, and come up with excuses sometimes in the bad times. Ali was authentic. When he was talking, you felt like you were getting a straight dope. When Cam is talking, I think people get the sense, because I do, that it's something other than the straight dope, and it leaves people feeling uncomfortable about it.
Yeah, but the straight dope is something that compromises all of us. You don't think there's things I want to say? Walt Disney, ESPN. You understand? In the world that we're living in, PC as it can be. You understand? Of course, it's compromised a nation of people because of the times that we're living in. Ali, with his authenticity, that was one of the things that was a breath of fresh air. But there were a whole bunch of Alis out there. They weren't as good of a boxer. They could have been an accountant. They could have been a lawyer or whatever. We didn't care about them, but he was the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And so, and not only that, who joined the Nation of Islam. And because of that, he spoke out on a lot of injustices that were permeating our society.
Before he took those.
But wait a minute. But he felt that way. But he felt that way is what I'm saying. Those were different times. The times that we're living in right now, and I am in no way completely absolving Cam because there are some things that he could do better, like saying fun. I'm not having fun. Get the hell over that. Nobody wants to hear that from Cam Newton. $60 million, reigning league MVP, and you wasn't saying that when you were going 15-1 last year. You're saying it when you were after you went 2-5 on Sunday. We don't want to hear that. But when you talk about safety, wait a minute. There are rules and regulations that clearly govern this sport. How is it that the quarterback is so ultra protected? But when it comes to me, there seems to be excuses. I'm saying how he's thinking. I don't totally agree with it because, again, we know at least 4 dudes that had roughing the passer penalties missed, even more so than him.
Right, the content of what he said is not the problem.
I know that. But what I'm saying to you is when you challenge his authenticity, I'm saying everybody's authenticity. We're living in an age where nobody's absolved from that criticism. I'm talking about the way it's received.
Yes, obviously by me, the way I'm perceiving it, but I get the sense that others are perceiving it that way as well. That Cam has a way of delivering his message and a way of talking to the press about these kind of grievances that rub people the wrong way. His delivery doesn't come across as as him somehow.
I'm saying to you, there are times even when I've acknowledged that about him in the past. My point is because of us, not because of him. This dude has gone up. This dude has walked in front of the camera and he says, look, we know it's a little bit different for me. We know what I got to deal with. Everybody was in an uproar. He steps back. He doesn't say anything. Folks are attacking him for that. We got to recognize that. The difference is that Brady isn't held accountable, Peyton Manning isn't held accountable, and others aren't held accountable for it the way that he is.
No, but
so
they also don't leave the podium before the end of the interview and all those kind of things.
Actually, Brady did the other day.
And he got roundly criticized.
You said that when he talks, he's vilified. When he doesn't talk, he's vilified. How is he going to be vilified if he doesn't talk in this situation?
In this particular situation? Well, no, I'm not saying in this situation that he would be vilified for it. I'm saying if you know that there's a history of that, then it makes you hesitant in every regard because people will nitpick no matter what you say. And I understand that part. There's no way around that. He can't win. There is nothing that Cam Newton can do that's going to satisfy everybody. If he talks, he's going to get vilified.
When you defy the orthodoxy, the received wisdom, this is the way we always do it, right? Especially in a sport like football that does not encourage individuality the way, say, basketball does, or the NBA did, or at least Stern did, and now maybe Silver's doing. When you speak out in that way and you don't kind of follow the prescription of the way you're supposed to do it, if you're bawling, you can do it. But as you mentioned earlier, in bad times, that will be held against you. He's celebrating in good times in a way that I loved it, but some people said, oh, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. And now we see in bad times, he's coming across as making excuses, and those who didn't like the celebrations, aha, see, now we got you. That's the reason when you defy the orthodoxy, when you do it your own way, you mentioned about Ali, boy, you better have the ultimate success. And right now, that's not what he's having. He's not having that right now, but nobody's disputing that. You're saying that he's coming across as inauthentic. Yes.
And I'm saying he's coming across as very authentic because he knows he can't win no matter what he says. He's a guy that looks hesitant to say anything until it's time for him to vent.
I'm not denying that dynamic, but do you not understand what I mean when you say you see Cam deliver a message and you're like, there's something rehearsed in it. There's something that he's not selling it to me because I don't believe he's always buying it himself. He hasn't. And it seems like he's interested in the response what he's saying is going to get, as opposed to just saying how you feel.
Message.
Yes. And he's delivering a message that he has every right to deliver. I'm not disagreeing with the content. But if you're saying, is there a way for him to win?
The fun, the safe, those are the things that everybody got stuck on, more so than getting hit.
If you're saying, what can he do? Is this a lose-lose situation? No. I believe if he stops talking, there's nothing you can do right now to make mediacrism and fancrism just go away.
That's all I was saying.
But over time, it will dissipate if he stops talking. Or when he talks.
It's not that it will dissipate. This is the reality. Cam can't give a damn. Cam can't. Listen, I got to watch how I say something or the words that I use. So do you, so does everybody. But at the end of the day, please be clear. I live in peace because I give 2 cents what anybody thinks about what I got to say. I don't care. But that's where Cam's got to get to. Cam literally cares because of how it's going to be received.
And that changes his delivery or his content.
So
in other words, you are authentic.
Right.
And he is not as much.
But what I'm saying to you is that that's not his fault. That's ours. Because if you sit up there, if Cam literally walked into a press conference today, literally this morning, and went like this, yeah, y'all go ahead, man. What's your questions? I'm real tired. Oh, why is he tired? What the hell's wrong with him? I mean, literally.
But if
he walked in there eating a sandwich, they would complain about that. If he walked in with flip-flops, they might complain about that.
Why can't he ignore that? Why can't he just ignore it and do what you do?
That's why I said he has to get to a point where he doesn't give a damn because right now he can't win.
So
because
therefore,
he cares.
stop talking until that point. Look, I didn't get on.
He's obligated to do 2 interviews a week.
I always thought the media is not a monolith. It doesn't just walk lockstep. And even though he was criticized by many, I think unfairly, there are others like me who say, wait a minute, you're criticizing Cam for giving a kid a football in the stands? You're criticizing Cam for dancing when he gets in the end zone? All that's ridiculous. If you want to criticize him, even walking away from the press conference after the Super Bowl, that the media is just complaining because he's making their jobs more difficult.
No.
But you want to criticize him? Criticize him for not jumping on the football. There are legitimate criticisms. And me, as a Cam Newton fan who usually defends him, am saying that there's something about the way he talks that makes me feel A-Rod, that makes me think there's something
That's fair.
inauthentic there. He needs to
maybe
stop.
because he's listening to the media.
When he walked away from the press conference, I was on the air the next day complaining about it. You're saying no. Complain about him not jumping on the football. I say no. Complain about him walking away from that press conference. What were my words that day? The next day, following the Super Bowl, why did I say there's a problem? I said because they're not going to have the success next year that they had this year. And when you lose, if you sit up there, everybody's going to be watching. Because now we're going to know about the maturation process when he's struggling. It's all good when you go on 15-1 and you go into the Super Bowl. But because of that moment in the Super Bowl is why the cynicism has elevated this year. That's exactly what I said that day. That's why he can't win. He can't win.
Unless he wins.
Can win, though, if he speaks freely and he stops listening to the media
eventually,
and social media,
right
like
now,
you're saying. Like
right
you always
now,
say,
he
I
can't
just
win.
pay attention to my family and things like that.
Right
Same
now, he
thing.
can't win.
And he doesn't
Right
have
now,
to
he
hear
can
it.
win. But I mean, I was raised up not giving a damn. It's not new to me. You know, but for him, clearly it is.
If he stops talking, it'll actually get better. And to me, that's a win.
Can't stop talking. You got to talk on
Let's leave
Wednesday.
it
Got to
there.
talk on Sunday.
Speaking
Give
of
them the
not
answers they're
talking,
looking for, yeah.
Tom Brady has been torching the NFL since returning from his Week 4 Deflategate game, and Jim Kelly has some high praise for Tom Terrific. We'll tell you what he said coming up next.
How does he handle the big moment?
You have to take everything into consideration. Why? For what?
Come on, dude.
He sued everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Now we have to watch what's actually happening.
USA.
I'm good.
I come inside Burger King, they say, you know, we have a 2 for $10. And I'm like, what? I could get my brother some too.
Nietzsche, you want a Whopper? Yeah, he wants one. Get 2 100.
The national championship goes to Connecticut for the 4th year in a row. 11th title in program history. The dynasty fulfills its destiny.
I've always tried to instill in my players that tremendous desire for something.
Our next guest, all he does is win, 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 no matter what. He collects jewelry, too. 11 rings. We welcome friend of the show, Gino Auriemma, to the desk. Thank you so much for being here with
Great
us.
seeing you, Coach.
Great to be here, guys.
Gino, I need you to help me here. So
Sure.
Stephen A. is depressed. He loves the NBA more than anything, and all we hear, he keeps complaining since Katie joined the Warriors that they've ruined basketball.
For the
These
regular
super
season.
teams. Now, you can relate to this because all you do is dominate as well, and you've heard these complaints.
Right.
What would you like to say to him in response that the Warriors have ruined the NBA season until the playoffs?
Well, I mean, the regular season is tough because there's 82 games. So it's already teams are playing. Just get in the playoffs. They start resting players. So where you finish in the regular season, I like the idea of super teams because it's every night that they play, even when they